We all know the classic Rubik's Cube puzzle and the typical way of solving it. But there's another way that you might not know about where you memorize all the pieces and then solve it blindfolded. Well, there's another level above this where the solver never even sees the cube or memorizes anything on it and has a friend tell them every move that they have to do. So here's what I'm wondering. Could we be able to replace that friend telling them the moves what to do and have them only use the piano? Let's find out. So the first question that we have to ask is, how can we even use the piano to solve the cube? Well, let's think about what goes on when we normally solve the cube. We look at where the pieces are, where the pieces need to go to be solved, and then do moves, either intuitive or planned, to get them there. So if you break this down a bit more simply, it all comes down to pattern recognition. So therefore, we can create audio patterns using the piano to help tell us what moves to do on the cube. So if you watched my other video where I used a Rubik's Cube to make a song on the piano, the way I did the notation in that was the 6 sides of the cube, and then you can do a clockwise move or a counterclockwise move, and that would equal 12, which is how many unique notes that we have in the octave. And then for double moves, you could just pick either one. So if we were to use that same notation that I came up with last time, you would need a crazy amount of perfect pitch on the piano to be able to understand what moves to do on the cube. So we're going to have to find a different way to do that. And the way we're going to do that is by using a simple major scale. So we're going to pair up each note that is in the major scale to a move that we can do on the cube. And here's how we're going to do it. There's the 6 sides of the cube, and there are 7 distinct notes in the octave. So what we'll do is each side following the top, left, front, right, back, and bottom will correspond to that note in the scale. So top would be this note. The left side would be the second note in the scale, the front would be the third note in the scale, and so on. So if you heard somebody play the third degree of the scale and the second degree, like this, you would know that they're telling you to do the third face, or the front one, clockwise, and the second one clockwise, like that. So that's all well and good, but how do we do counterclockwise moves? Well, think about it like this. What is a counterclockwise move except for 3 clockwise moves? So if we want to do a counterclockwise move, we'll just hit the note 3 times. And then same kind of idea for double notes, just hit it twice. Okay, so you might be seeing a bit of a problem with this. If we were just to notate every note like this, it would be pretty hard for the solver to be able to recognize which notes they are. So that's where this next little bit of information comes in. We're going to just walk up to the note that we do. So let's say we want them to turn the left face counterclockwise. So instead of just hitting the second note, we're going to walk up to it. So 1, 2, and then hit it 2 more times to make it 3. That way the solver can count along with the notes you play. So you can see it a bit better when we go to the 5th side. Let's say we wanted them to turn the back. That way you can count along instead of just having to pick the note out of random. And conveniently enough, now that we know how to do this, we can solve the entire cross. So I'll go ahead and scramble this cube up, and I'll do a little bit of a walkthrough to show you what it would look like if you wanted to do this yourself. So we can see this red edge is going to go into the cross right here. It's going to set up these 2 pieces, and then we'll do the orange as well. So we're going to want to move the left side down first, and the left side is the first, second face, so it'll be the second note. And we'll walk up to it just like this. Then we're going to want to do the blue edge back here first, and that's the back side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's just a clockwise move. Then we'll go ahead and set up the green edge here, so on the third face. Then put this one in, but you'll notice it's going to be a counterclockwise move, so we'll just do it 3 times. And then just put the last edge in. So that's the idea of how we can do the cross using the piano. So you might have noticed that's a bit slow. It works, but if we're looking to do this in an actual decent time, we wouldn't want to have to tell out every note for the entire solve. Because a lot of it can be algorithms that if we can just tell them what the algorithm is to do, it can be a lot faster. So we'll go ahead and change it up a bit for the next part, where we're going to get onto the corners. But before we move on to the corners, there's something important to note that we'll notice later on as we get throughout the solve. You're going to want the green center and the blue center in front. I mean, you can change this depending on how you guys are solving it, but we'll just say blue and green on the front for this because we're going to do some edge orientation later. So the way that you can tell them how to orient the cube is like this. If you hit any low note on the keyboard like this, it's going to just be a Y for the rotation, so like this. And then the opposite of that is just going to be a high note for a Y prime. If you hit any random jumble of white notes in the middle like this, it's going to be an X prime. And then if you go ahead and hit any just random jumble of black notes up at the top, it's going to be an X. That way you can make sure that you're in the orientation that you want. Okay, so let's get on to solving corners next. Now you might be asking, why don't we try and do some type of F2L? And I'll tell you why. I originally did when I was trying to come up with how to do this, and it took way more mental power and was way more confusing to figure out how to do it. If we just do corners, it's a lot more simple, and I'll go ahead and explain how it's gonna work. So if you take a look at the cube, you'll notice that there are only 8 corner pieces, the 4 on top and the 4 on bottom. And what are there 8 of? 8 notes in the scale. So we can do the same kind of mapping thing that we've been doing to go ahead and tell where the corner is. So essentially what this is going to look like is we're going to tell the solver where the corner is, where the cross sticker is, in this case white, and which slot it needs to go into. Then the solver can just picture that in their head and do it themselves. So let's say, for example, we wanted to solve this corner right here, the red, white, green one. Well, we can see here that it is in the 4th slot going clockwise, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we go ahead and play that, stepping up just like we had been doing. Then the solver would know that's where the corner we're going to solve is. And then what I like to do after I solve one of the mini steps is just play a B flat major chord like this. That way we know we're just moving on to the next part where we say where the cross color is. So there's only 3 places that it could be, so we'll just use the first 3 notes, and in this case it'd be in the 2nd. Now we start on the top or bottom and then work my way clockwise. So it'd be the 2nd, and then we'll clear it again to go on to our next step. The last thing that we need to know is where the slot that we're solving it into is going to be. So the way I have this mapped is this one right here is 1, and then it goes 2, 3, 4. So we can just spell it out the same way, and this one happens to be in the 1. So we'll just hit the 1 note, and then we'll clear it out. So now with that information, we would know exactly how to solve this corner. We know where it is, where the white sticker is, and which slot it needs to go into. And that can save a lot more time than having to do the individual moves. And then we can just repeat the same process for the rest of the corners. Then it'll look something like this, and we'll have the first layer done. So now we're going ahead and getting into the second layer, and this is probably going to be the most confusing part, but I'll try and make it as simple as I can. So there are 3 things we're trying to tell the solver in this part. Where the edge is, if the edge is good, or if the edge is bad, and then again, what slot it needs to go into. And the solver can figure out the rest from there. There are more edges than there are just the 8 that we had for the corners. But once we have the cross solved, that takes out 4 of them. There's only 4 on top and 4 in the middle layer, so we can still use our 8-note scale. So we'll go ahead and take this edge right here, and we can see it's in the 4th position, going 1, 2, 3, 4. So since that's the one we're solving, we'll go ahead and play that up. So now the solver would know where it is. Then we're going to check to see if the orientation is good. Since we have the green and blue on front, if it has the blue or green of that edge on top, or in one of the fronts or backs, then it's a good edge. If it doesn't, that's bad. The main thing this helps know is which way the edge has to go in, that way it doesn't end up flipped. So the way I say it's a good edge is I just play the like Mario coin sound effect, and then if it's a bad edge, I just play a tritone like this. But this one is good, so we'd play the Mario coin sound effect. You could really make it anything, but I just think that's fun. We can see here it just needs to go into the 3rd slot, so we'll just walk up to the 3rd note, and then clear again, that way we know we're done with that edge. And then when we finish a main edge like this, I like to do it twice, that way they just know that we're done with that part that we were working on specifically. So we could do it like that. So now with this information, we'll be able to finish off the 2nd layer. Now we're moving on to OLL. And usually when you're learning to solve the cube, OLL is where it starts getting a lot harder. You're having to deal with a lot more algorithms. But algorithms are a lot better for when you can't see the cube because you just know the moves that you have to do. So there are really only 2 parts to getting the yellow cross solved on top. You might have to do U moves either direction to get it oriented how you want it to be. And the way that we can do this, and you can actually use this throughout any part of the solve except for the beginning, a low note down here equals a U move, and then a high note up here, just any random one, equals a U prime move. So you can easily tell them to flick the cube a certain way. What I like to do is to tell them to do the algorithm, play an F major chord going back and forth twice, kind of like doing the syllables the algorithm has. So like this. And then they would know to do it once. And then in this case, they'd have to do it again, so I'll just play it again. And then they'll have the cross on top. So it's a little upsetting that F2L wasn't practical for this method, but what is practical is 2-look OLL. So I actually came up with a way to convey each cross case that you'd get like this. So for the first one, where it's a cross and you have headlights on the front and on the back, I think of the 2 dots like that and think of it like this. So you're kind of spelling out the 2 dots here and the 2 dots in the back. So if you play that, they would just know to go into that algorithm. So for the pi case, where you have the headlights here and then the 2 opposite dots, the way I think about this is the headlights are kind of here in the middle with an F and a G, and then they split out to a C octave. So if you played this pattern, they would know to do the pi case. Okay, I really like the soons, so when you get the right hand soon, you just play a right hand arpeggio descending, so like this. The way I think about it like that is the dot is here on the right, and you start the arpeggio on the right side. And then the same kind of deal, if it's the left hand soon, you can just do it ascending like this. So I don't know exactly what the name is for this one, but I always kind of see it as 2 soons put together. So like the fish here and then the fish here. So if it's 2 of them put together, we'll just play both of these soon little melodies like this. Or you could even do it down and up if you want. So then we have the last 2, the big block case, and this is the one where the headlights are on the front. And what I think of for this is we have the big block in the back, and this really reminds me of the 3 black notes. So I play those first, and then if the headlights are here, you just slide down to show them, like this. So that would be this case. And then for the last one, it's where it's the big block, but there's the dots on the side. Same starting, where you show the big block, but then you go out to a full octave, like that. So this is providing that you already know 2-look OLL like this, but if you're still using the beginner's method and really only know the soon algorithm, you can still use that and just tandem with the U moves like we did before, and you should be able to solve it still. So now we're getting on to the last step here for PLO, and we're doing this 2-look as well. I'm sure that you could come up with a way to convey every single 21 of the algorithms, but I don't think it's realistic for the scope of this video. So the main thing that we need to know at first is if we have an adjacent swap or a diagonal swap. And then again, we can use the highs and lows to do U moves as convenient. So what I do is I play a G, and then if it's a adjacent swaps are usually better, so that's gonna go up. Then if it's a diagonal swap, diagonal swaps are usually worse, so it's gonna go down. And in this case, we have a diagonal swap, so I would play this. And then that will solve corners. So the last thing that we have is the U-perm, and I like to do the same kind of thing that I just did, because there's always the 1 in the middle, and then it has to go either direction. So we just play the note in the middle, and then show which way it needs to go. So this one needs to go to the left, so play the 1 to the left. Then you'll be able to know which U-perm to do. If you were to get one of the H-perms or Z-perms, I would say just do the U-perm twice, although you could come up with a way to convey both of those. And then once you do that, the whole cube will be solved without you ever having looked at it and your friend never telling you what to do, just playing a song on the piano. So here's the thing, came up with the method, but we have to give it a try, right? We can't just say hypothetically this would work. But here's the issue, I don't have a friend who could help me with this. The ones who would be able to play the piano part wouldn't know what to look for on the cube, and the ones who can do the cube part probably wouldn't know what to play on the piano. But lucky for me, I don't need a friend for this, because I have a loop pedal. See, what the loop pedal does is I can plug it in and it will record whatever I'm playing directly from the keyboard, then I can stop it and then play it again. So it'll be a little bit better than using like a phone camera for a video, because that could have me talking and maybe some extra sounds of the cube turning. Okay, so basically how I'm going to do this is I'm going to generate a cube scramble and then put it onto 2 separate cubes. Then I'm going to solve the one cube while playing along the solution that I come up with on the keyboard and running it through the loop pedal at the same time. So then once I have all that done, I'll do 5 to 10 solves on a different cube. That way I can just get the solve that I recorded out of my head and won't be remembering the steps instead of listening to what's being played. So then once I finish that, I'll go ahead and use the other cube that I scrambled up and use the loop pedal and hopefully be able to solve it. So preferably, if this was to be done with 2 people, the one person playing the piano would never touch the cube at all, and there'd only be one cube that they're solving, and the solver would never see it or know what the scramble is. But since this is the best that we can do, it'll hopefully have to work. So I think that's pretty much everything that we're going to need to be able to solve the cube. I think it's time to go ahead and try to do that. So here we go. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and hop into the recording part where I go ahead and note down all the things that I'll have to do to solve the cube. Got my cube right here, and I just got a random scramble pulled up. So we'll go ahead and do that, and it should work. So I've got my keyboard hooked up to the loop pedal, and I've got the loop pedal on the floor. So I'll go ahead and figure out what cross we're going to do, then should be good to just start it. Okay, that is really hard to think about, especially as you're trying to solve the cube, translating it into the keyboard, but I think I got the scramble right. So I'll go ahead and go do some other stuff. That way I'll try to forget what the solution I just did was. Now the important thing is when I get to actually re-listening to what I just played to try and solve the cube is that I do the moves exactly the same. Because if I do one move different, that'll change all the other pieces and the entire solve will be a loss and we'll have to try again. So let's hope I get it right on the first try and we'll cut back to a little bit from now after I've forgotten what I just did. Okay, so it's been a couple minutes. We're back here, so I'm going to go ahead and try to solve the cube now. So I've still got the recording that we did from earlier on the loop pedal, and we're going to play it back. I've also got my timer pulled up here so that we can see how long it actually takes to do the solve, because preferably it would be done at the same time, the playing of it and the cubes. And as for the jacket that I'm wearing, I don't really have a way to prove that I'm keeping my eyes closed, so I'm just going to put this like that. So hopefully that'll be good enough. I got the same scramble here, and I think we're about ready to just go for it. So we'll see how this goes. All right, so I got the same one. I'm just gonna go ahead and try it again.
Oh my, it is so hot in this coat.
Okay, so not even close to solved. I'm not even sure what went wrong there. I'm sure I'll know once I take a look at the footage, but I guess we'll go ahead and get a new scramble and try that again here. And try again I did. I tried again. And again. No. And again, with not much luck. I decided to go ahead and try again the next day. Alright, so it's the next day here, and you can tell it's the next day because I'm wearing a different shirt. So I think the problem with the solves I was doing yesterday was I was doing it a bit more late at night, and the more solves that I kept doing, the more just kind of cluttered and unfocused my brain was getting. And along with that, I was getting really confused on what it meant to orient an edge and how I would go in. Because when I would do the recording part of the solve, I would sometimes put the edge in differently than how I would intuitively do it when I was actually doing the solve. But with all that being said, I spent some more time thinking about it today, and I've got the recording ready to go here, and hopefully we'll be able to do a solve with this. So let's go for it. And 3, 2, 1. All right, here we go. That's it! Alright, we got it. So that's my first time, stop the timer, first time actually doing it solved with the recording, and I'm very happy about that. So there's the time, about 3 minutes. I should have stopped it sooner, but I forgot. I was not expecting to actually get it done that time. That's so cool. So using just the piano to hear and listen to it, solving the full Rubik's Cube. I was pretty sure on the first edge that I inserted it flipped the wrong way and it was going to completely ruin the solve, but I guess that was it. So that's pretty cool. We finally have it done. So what do I think about this as a method now that I've officially done one solve with it? I think it's pretty cool. It's really hard to do when you're just doing it with a recording and don't have a friend to help give you some kind of feedback to know if what you're doing is actually the right move. Because if you're just doing it with the recording, one move off and the entire solve is scrapped. But I still think it's a really fun challenge to do, and I'd love to see if anyone else can try and take this on. So if you decide to try and do this challenge, or maybe make some of your own changes to the method that I came up with, go ahead and leave a comment or tag me on the video, because I'd love to see what we can do with this and see if I can actually get some cool times with it. So sorry if this video was a little bit more cube based than it was piano. If you want to see one that's more piano based instead of cube, you can check out the other video I did where I used the Rubik's Cube to come up with a song generator on the piano. Anyway, this was a pretty fun challenge. Thanks for watching till the end, and I'll see you guys next time.